I just left my child's school and I had to get on video to share something with you because it really does pertain to anxiety and I wanted to share it with you. So my daughter goes to an early childhood academy. She's only 17 months old. A couple of times a year, they invite the parents to come for a Friday morning event. It's all of the kids come together, all of the parents, the teachers, the administrators, everybody is in one auditorium, and it is a huge party. There is loud music, there's singing, there's dancing, and you can just imagine, these toddlers, anywhere from 12 months to 3 years old, and it is chaos, pure and utter chaos. It's wonderful, but my gosh, is it overstimulating. And what I noticed today, which did not come as a surprise to me because I know my child very well, is that most of the kids in the room were dancing and singing and excited and really joining in the fun. Whereas my child, along with a few others, was holding back. She really held back. She just observed what was going on around her. She was quiet. She wasn't upset, but she was a little clingy with me. She didn't really want to leave my side. She didn't really want to dance. And the difference between her and some of the other kids was very, very obvious. Okay, so what's going on here? Let me tell you about research that was done in the 1980s by a professor at Harvard whose name was Jerome Kagan. If you want to look it up, it's Kagan. Jerome Kagan did research on young children, and what he found was that some kids, when they encounter very new, unfamiliar situations, they hold back and they become kind of shy, a little bit withdrawn, basically inhibited. If you look at them, their behavior is inhibited. They can become clingy, they can look a little bit stressed. Other kids, in fact, most kids, approach novel situations. They will join in, they will become excited, they'll go and explore. He was really interested in the behaviorally inhibited children, and he embarked on a whole program of research to look at these kids and what happens to them long term. There's been a lot of research on behavioral inhibition over the past 40 plus years. So the research has shown a lot of things to be true, but I'm going to share two of those things with you now. The first thing is that research has shown that behavioral inhibition is pretty stable over the course of childhood and even to some degree into adolescence and adulthood. So the kids who show inhibition, who become a little bit withdrawn, a little bit quiet, inhibited in novel and uncertain situations, show those traits a couple of years later in their childhood and even to some degree into adolescence and adulthood. So when we see that a trait is very stable over time, we tend to think of it as a personality trait. It's just part of their temperament. So if you have a child who is behaviorally inhibited, you haven't done anything wrong and you haven't done anything right. People just come to the table with their temperament. It is in part biological, and there is nothing that we as parents have done, right or wrong, that has caused them to be behaviorally inhibited. It's just normal variation in human experience and in human preferences. The second thing that has emerged from this research that I want to share with you is that behavioral inhibition in childhood seems to predict social anxiety, in particular in the long run. There's some prediction of anxiety in general, but the one that has emerged the most strongly is a prediction of social anxiety. That does not mean that a behaviorally inhibited child will for sure become a socially anxious adult. That's not what it means. Remember, when we talk about prediction, we're talking about the group level. So when you look at hundreds of kids, those who are more behaviorally inhibited are more likely to develop social anxiety later. So as a mom, when I look at my daughter, who has been behaviorally inhibited her whole life so far, I know that my job is twofold. The first part of my job is to accept her as she is. She is a wonderful, wonderful child. She is so sweet and so great. And her behavioral inhibition is just part of who she is. There's nothing bad about it. There's nothing particularly good about it either. It just is what it is. There are going to be some challenges that come with that, and there are going to be some wonderful things about it too. The second thing that I tell myself as the mom of a behaviorally inhibited child is that part of my job is to help her become as comfortable as she can possibly be when she encounters new and unfamiliar situations. Not because I want to undo her behavioral inhibition, not because there's something inherently bad about it, but because for the rest of her life, she is going to encounter new and unfamiliar situations. That is just part of life. And I want to equip her with the ability to approach those situations. And even though she may never be as comfortable as a child who is not at all behaviorally inhibited, I can help her be as comfortable as possible so that as she grows up, she can approach new situations with some confidence. She can believe in her ability to be okay in the unfamiliar, and she can be successful in life. So it's two sides of the same coin. Accept her as she is, love her as she is, because she is perfect, exactly as she is, and help her maximize her ability to approach the new and unfamiliar so that she can be as comfortable as possible and as successful as possible in her life. Think about your own kids and whether you see that they are behaviorally inhibited or not. Probably it differs across children within the same family. But also think about yourself and whether you have behavioral inhibition and whether you think that has factored into some of your comfort in social situations or new and unfamiliar situations. And we'll talk more about approaching unfamiliar situations and exposing ourselves to that which makes us uncomfortable in order to train ourselves to feel more comfortable in those situations and have a greater sense of mastery when we do encounter the new and unfamiliar. Okay, have a good day. Bye-bye.